You know, if I told most people who are not from one of those countries like Greece how many stray dogs you can simply bump into just driving around the country, they just wouldn't believe me. So I went away for a couple of days recently. We started from Athens and drove up north. We spent a day at my grandma's hometown, and then the next day we drove further up north and spent a couple of days in central Greece. In total, the number of strays I filmed and photographed are nothing compared to the number that were actually there. If you spend a few days in a place, you think that this is it, that those are the strays that are around here. But if you actually live there, or if you keep going back season after season, like I do in my hometown, you realize that no, it's not the same dogs. It's always new ones. Every season there are new strays everywhere. Every season there are poisoned baits thrown around to eliminate what's there, and then new ones turn up, and then they are poisoned, and then new ones turn up, and they are poisoned, and so on and so on. It's the same cycle all over the country. When we visited Takis in Crete, who is one of the most well-known rescuers in Greece, he said something very important that I just can't forget. He said, what we are doing, all of us in animal welfare, is cutting off the branches from a tree that keeps growing instead of tearing it down straight from the root. And he couldn't be more right. You have a society that keeps producing stray dogs per millions, and we handpick and rescue some of the millions. We handpick and rescue some of them, the rest just vanishes. The streets get them, poisoned baits get them, and then more are produced. And again, we rescue some, and then more are produced, and we rescue some, and then more are produced. Why? What is this? Every time I drive around Greece, it's the same. 3 days in Pilio a few years ago destroyed me. The dogs were so many. I don't have time in this video to include all the photos I took. It's the same everywhere. We're not cutting down the tree from the root, which is the owned dogs that give birth twice a year to future strays. We are standing in front of a society which is completely uneducated, waiting to catch whatever it is they throw at us, but we cannot catch and rescue everything. So yes, we sterilize the strays, but the strays have a lifespan of 6 months, so we are not actually fixing the problem. There are no campaigns to go around the country and sterilize every single owned dog so that there is no more mass production of strays. Nobody will do this. Nobody will fund this. Nobody talks about it. Education, yes, eventually will fix the problem. But if the problem has grown too big by the time people are educated, it's already too late. So we cannot wait for the society to be educated and for every single dog owner in rural Greece to spay and neuter their dog so that there are no more strays produced on the streets. And with that situation, with that mass production of strays and the shelters packed and the volunteers swamped, we can only give a chance to the strays that cannot survive on their own, which, apart from the puppies, are basically the sick ones. A dog has to be sick to be rescued from the streets. So we leave them on the streets, wait for them to get sick, so that we rescue them after. Which means that we are feeding shelters with sick dogs, expecting people to adopt them. So we are letting this tree grow new branches every single day. We cannot possibly rescue all those dogs because there's absolutely nowhere to place them, and Greece is no kill. And in case one of them falls ill or gets run over by a car, then we rescue it. We try to fix it and undo a long trail of endless mistakes that led to the dog falling ill in order to adopt it out. It is a business plan that simply does not work. It's wrong. And then there's the other thing. It's not that the first world has solved the problem. I mean, yes, the public does not really see strays in every corner of every street, but that's because you take a dog you don't want to a kill shelter, which we call it open admissions shelter, something that simply does not exist here. It is given a few weeks and then they put it down. What? In Australia alone, there is about 250,000 healthy dogs that are being euthanized every single year. Who gave the right to anyone to euthanize? Oh my God, a dog on the street, we have to pick it up. We cannot possibly leave it there because why? Because we don't want to see the problem that we are creating so that we don't feel bad. So we lock it away somewhere that makes us feel better. At least in the developing world, we are face to face with it every day. We see it in front of us all the time. We recognize it. We recognize the problem. It's there. You know, when a dog is first abandoned, you can tell. They are looking around, they are searching, they are waiting, they are scared, they are confused. Go check on the same dog a couple of weeks later and it's found its place, it seems comfortable, it's got a place to sleep, it's got its routine, they seem fine, this is their life. Cities and towns and villages are their natural habitat. Actually, the human society is the natural habitat of the dog, and those strays seem to have their life doing their thing. They could live among us as civilians, being respected and taken care of, and for some months they are actually, until they are poisoned, and then new ones appear and they adjust too until they are poisoned, and then new ones appear and they adjust and they are poisoned, and so on and so on and so on. So in a way, even countries like Greece are not no-kill. They are very, very much kill. It's just that the death doesn't happen in the corner of a shelter somewhere with a needle. And now let's say that we just let the dogs be. So we have a dozen strays in a village, for example, taken care of, etc. It seems fine, but it's not possible because every few months, new ones are abandoned. So every few months you have a dozen more and a dozen more and a dozen more. Where can this number go until it's simply not viable anymore? Let's say that kill shelters cease to exist. So every dog that comes in stays. How many dogs can a shelter actually have? 1,000, 2,000, 250,000 this year, another 250,000 next year. In what living conditions and with what cost? See, there is no answer to those questions, or actually there is an answer, it's only one. We need to cut down the tree from the root because we've been grooming the branches all this time and it just doesn't work. We need to stop producing more dogs than can live. We need to ban breeding. All kinds of breeding. We need to make buying pets illegal. We need to go around the country and spay and neuter every single owned dog for free, because this is where stray and unwanted dogs are being produced. Vets that advise their clients to let their dogs give birth once, and trust me, there is a lot of them in Greece, should lose their license. We need to stop mass production. Rescuing one dog or 10 or 100 means nothing. And it hurts me to say it. It hurts me so much because I'm all about seeing the individuality in every single animal. But that individuality is lost when you are confronted with such numbers. All those quotes like one dog at a time and you can save everyone, but everyone can save someone. All that we all like hearing and reading and sharing and reproducing, actually they mean nothing. They mean nothing at all. We can't see the forest for the trees, and the truth is that those dogs we rescue are just some trees in a forest that is bigger than we can imagine, or bigger than we want to imagine. From my trip to central Greece last week, I came back with 2 dogs in the back of my car that are about to start a new life. And as I was driving back to Athens, I could only feel guilt and emptiness because basically I had done nothing. I had just hand-picked some of the leaves from that huge tree that is a problem and that keeps growing and that I don't want to face it. What's the point of feeling good about myself for taking 2 dogs to their forever homes when I'm driving by thousands of others? I know that the world is full of problems, full of all sorts of problems, but for me, seeing a dog on the street consumes me entirely, and I am just incapable of thinking anything else apart from that. It ruins my day, it ruins my mood, it makes me depressed and angry. You know, the truth is that every single animal that is connected to the humans somehow suffers overpopulation, and that is a fact. The thing with dogs is that they are so connected to us that it almost feels like they're one of our own, you know. They trusted us basically thousands of years ago. They evolved with us. They evolved with Homo sapiens to the point where us, the humans, the Homo sapiens, we are the dog's natural habitat, and in a way we owe it to them to try to make things better, not just for one or two or a million of their kind that we rescue, but overall for their kind in general. And I know all of us in animal welfare like to see those individual stories. We like our closure. We like to see a dog, you know, rescued and then treated and then rehomed. And we love our happy endings. But those individual happy endings mean nothing basically when you're facing a problem that is so big in numbers that those individual stories actually are not making any difference. They're just not. It makes us feel better, and it satisfies a need we have for a happy ending, a need we have to help, a need we have to share an overwhelming happy end story. But we're just going around in circles, doing the same thing over and over again, not facilitating any solution, really. Hello, I am Valia. If you like the videos, please subscribe, and if you can, join me on Patreon and help create more compassionate people. Para la versión del canal en castellano, busquen el enlace abajo.